学校就应该是伟大理想的学校，这是我的一个个人的观点。
So, if it's okay, I'm just going to offer a few of my own reflections on this, having worked with many schools over the last 15 years. First off, I believe that the difficulties that schools encounter all around the world come from deep unclarity around their purpose. A simple example of what I mean by this is when you start to substitute tests and test scores for real purpose. And it's not that, of course, tests are unimportant. Tests are a very useful tool, but they're a tool. They really are not a statement of purpose. And as I've looked at efforts to create innovative schools all around the world, there's one theme that comes up again and again in the best of these schools. And I think it's very consistent with what many of you have said. It's a simple idea, but it has real depth. It's a profound idea. What does it mean to grow and develop as a human being? What does it mean to develop a sense of your own purpose? What does it mean to develop a capacity to truly care for others, genuinely? What does it take to be effective, to actually accomplish things, and particularly to accomplish things together, not just accomplish things individually? That emphasis you see here on teamwork is something that has been widely missing, I'll say, in American schools for a long time. You talked about aspiration. It's really the first, in my experience, the first principle of all learning. Learners learn what learners want to learn, not what teachers want them to learn. Learners learn what learners want to learn, what they themselves want to learn. So how does a human being develop their sense of aspiration, which lifts them and orients them? There's a second purpose, though, I think, which is perhaps sometimes more subtle. I think we miss the first purpose often, but the second we don't even think about explicitly. But it is a powerful force implicitly. School is the primary institution that conserves culture. It's a complicated matter, because that can be a way of saying schools should never change. Schools should always be the way it used to be. In my experience, that's actually the force that does operate most of the time. Parents have an idea of how schools should be based upon their experience at school. So, in that sense, schools don't innovate. They don't create something really new. So there's a real dilemma, a real paradox. How can school conserve culture, and how can school also create something new for a different world? Because we do not live in the world of 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, or 500 years ago. We live in the world of today. So how can you both conserve and innovate? These children will live in a world that we cannot even imagine. The world of 50 years from now will be a very different world than the world that you and I grew up in. So I leave you with one thought on this, because I think a lot of what you said and what draws you to this school is something about the deepest aspects of traditional Chinese culture, which are sort of like roots. If we can really connect to the roots, because a tree can grow in many directions. You cannot control where the tree grows, but you can make sure the roots are healthy. So somehow this paradox has to be embraced. To ignore what we truly want to conserve. They're going to leave school with no cultural orientation. So, two purposes, as near as I can see: to grow human beings and to create healthy societies for the future, not for the past. Now, if I can come back to where I started, this raises very challenging questions for you and I as parents. How do we become good partners to a school? My own criticism of most of us as parents is we send our kids to school and then we turn our back and walk away. We say, you educators, you teachers, it's your responsibility. I'm too busy. I have too many messages to answer. I have too much business to do. But on the other hand, this also raises dilemmas. Because as an active, engaged parent, I will see some things that I think make sense, are clear, are effective, and other things that I'm concerned about. That's natural. If I'm really engaged, there will be things that I think are really working and things which I'm concerned about. How do I deal with my concerns? So you gave a very good, clear example. And as a parent, it's easy for me to identify with your example. But what do we do in a situation like that? How do we be effective? How do we be a partner to a school? This school needs parents as partners. Larry said that before. If you read that first section of the book, it says right there, a healthy community has parents as partners. The teachers are not easy to reach sometimes. A problem happens at home. What do you do about it? It's not an easy solution. And, you know, frankly, when you were giving your example, and I was thinking of my own kids, you know, kids are very smart. And if they think they can get away with doing something differently at home than they do at their school, they will. So here at the school, one of the things I've observed is the kids work together a lot. So it tends to keep them on track because they see what each other is doing. There's a lot of peer pressure, which is very healthy, I believe. A lot of a sense that, oh, they're doing something, that person's doing something, I need to do it. I'm sure that's the way a lot of the work actually gets done. It's not just the teachers, it's their peers and their expectations they have for each other. It's very healthy social arrangement. But those other kids are not at home. So now, you know, I don't have to do it. It's a perfect example of the interface. This interface between an innovative school and us as parents is a very big challenge. So all I can really offer this advice is a reminder. First, this is new. This is a new school with new teachers and people running the school who are creating it from the beginning. Compassion and understanding is very important. When you see something you're concerned about, find someone to talk to. Find a teacher to talk to. And it's very important that we, as parents, engage as active parents. I heard Sandy say a few minutes ago, one of the things that's very important to us is the parents not just think they're rid of their kids. The kids are now gone. You are their parents. You have a crucial role in how they grow as human beings. They know it. They look to you. But you have to know your own sense of how do I partner with these teachers. Be patient, but don't give up. I'll give you one other, I think, small suggestion. I think many of you probably already will do this instinctively. Your children are also your teachers. I think Diane and I, my wife and I, are here together this week, and I think it's one of the most important discoveries that some parents make and some parents don't make. That we don't just shape our children like a box of wood. They come into our lives to also teach us. One feeling I had this morning and this afternoon watching the kids is how for each of us as parents, as aunts, uncles, grandparents, this is also an opportunity for me to learn, for me to get connected to our deep cultural knowledge. China has a wonderful gift to give the world if we all can connect